Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Welcome back to HGL Gaming League. Hang on, what's it called? HGL GT3 Gaming League. That's it, on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Welcome back to round 7 at Circuit Misano. Yes, I know there is no game audio at the minute. I have it off for now. We're just waiting for the practice session to fully end. Oh, there we go. Session starts in just a moment. Yes, I know I wasn't here last week, but unfortunately some of these things just get in the way. Namely, the fact that I have a job, and I have been having to take Fridays occasionally, and usually I'm just left completely knackered. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be more of the same next week as well. Because I've got to go in next week on Friday, and even worse, I have to go in on Saturday too. So yeah, I'm going to be exhausted on Friday, and I'm going to have to go to bed early on the same day, so not particularly something I'm looking forward to, but it happens. Anyway, I don't have any standings, so I'm afraid I don't know exactly who's leading the championship at the minute. We only have 15 drivers by the looks of things today, so let's see. Oh yeah, we lost the standings, didn't we? So no one knows exactly where anyone is. But going off of the... I can't even show you how things went for the... We're just losing all the standings everywhere? We only have the race results up to round 3. Or round 4, rather. Sandvort. Oh dear. Also, we've got a couple of cars that don't have any skins. Gurik. Oh god, that's a letter, isn't it? Gershik. Oh god, Gerchik? Is that Czech? Possibly. And then we have the two, the two BFR drivers are both in blank Aston Martins, which isn't fantastic because they haven't shared their skins with me. So that's... Well, if you see a black Aston Martin, then you're gonna know that it's one of the BFR drivers, Giulio and Umbe. And Hernandez is in a car that we've not really seen much. The Nissan GTR. Actually, keep that basic HUD. Where shall we go? Where is it? There we go. Nissan GTR. It's not even a car I thought was in the game. Evidently it is, though. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a DLC car, but the fact that it's here, it's nice to see a Nissan GTR here. I wish they'd never dumped the Skyline moniker. There are still Nissan Skylines around, but they just decided to disassociate the GTR tag with the Skyline name, so... yeah. It's like Subaru taking away WRX STI off of Impreza, which isn't the case. There's totally Imprezas still called WRX STI. Don't you dare tell me otherwise. I will do horrible things. Anyway. So how are things shaping up? Let's see. Who is the first car out on track? Well, the car number 20 has just crossed the line. Oh, Christian Dawn. Is someone we could watch. Doesn't look like we have... Who's out there? Let's return to the garage briefly. Let's see who we have. We don't have the number 27 car. I can't remember his name. The usual driver for the Porsche Gorex team. Let's see. Not Luca, is it? No? Krebs, that's it. Fabian Krebs. So Krebs isn't here today. Complete brain fart. So I don't know how things are shaping up in the championship, but he's not here to defend from the two BFR drivers. And already, Wolf, Jay Wolf, leading the way. I don't remember if that's a Jordan or something. Just says J there. Let's see. Come on, let's find him. Yeah, J.A. Wolf now. Oh, great. That tells me a lot, doesn't it? Anyway, Wolf is currently leading the way, but only by half a tenth ahead of Gurchik and Gulio, Fabian Gulio in this black Aston Martin. One of two black Aston Martins, because they've not shared the skins. Share the skin files with me, mates. He's only a tenth behind Wolf. As he comes through, this is turn 14 now. And into the final corner. Let's see how this lap shapes up. No idea how it's been. We've had a car moving up the field as Gulio takes provisional pole by almost 0.3 of a second. Slavic behind, then we've got Lero Fusion into the final corner. Where will he end up? With 2 minutes of qualifying left, and he's into P6, 1.7 seconds behind. Andy Schultz across the line next. Sets a lap time, but it's not great. Brian Wilson caused that massive crash at the Nürburgring. Across the line, improves, still 2 seconds off the lead in P7. Car number 27, wrong 27, Gaetan Umbe with the BFR Racing team. Across the line in his black Aston Martin, and he's not invalid. He's either invalidated his lap time or this is his out lap. Number 13, Michel Hernandez, 5th place in the Nissan. Big Jabber only 9th in the AMG. Christian Dawn, can he improve his current P10 ahead of Sherlock? Dawn does move up. Sherlock also moves up, now into 5th place, 1.2 seconds off the lead, off the pole position, as Lucas Schmidt and Gurchik. Schmidt moves up. Gurchik, I don't think he did. Not by a lot, at least, as Schmidt goes off the track. Bomberclat in P11. Ooh. Sand Green in the pits still. I wonder if he's had a, what's it called? Qualifying ban, potentially. Fusion across the line again. Improves by about 0.6 of a second. Moves up to P5. Displaces Sherlock. Some drivers already into the pits. Schultz moves up again. Brian Wilson. 8 seconds of the session remain. And Wilson does not improve. That's his final lap time. Umbe trying to get a lap time on the board. He has one final corner. I don't know if that's going to be an invalidation there. Where can he go? He moves to the top of the table in the final seconds. Oh, but only 0.04 ahead of Wolf. Number 13 was, I don't know who that was. That's Hernandez and the Nissan P6. Now it's Marko Gurchik, is actually a Slovakian, not a Czech, as I initially thought. But they were once the same country, so you can't blame me too much. Gurchik then across the line does improve, but it's a very, very close. 23 thousandths off the lead. Gulio moves up into pole by 0.2 of a second. 0.222. Just insane pace from the BFR duo. The final driver who could potentially... Oh, I don't think that's going to be valid. And indeed, it is not. And finally, Andy Schultz, final driver to cross the line. I don't think he's going to be breaking records out there, and certainly not. He only improved by about 4/10. So, we have lost a couple of drivers by the looks of things. Jordan Lake, Sandgreen did not take part. Yusuf? But yes, it's a BFR 1-2. Cars 97 and 27. Gulio and Umbe. With the Slovakian Marko Gercik in third. J.A. Wolf, P4. Shlovik, P5. Hernandez, P7. Hernandez, P6. Fusion, P7. Sherlock, P8. Brian Wilson, P9. And Christian Dorn, P10. Now I need to make sure that Krebs is actually still in the league. Maybe? No, he's still around. He's just not able to take part, I think.
Seconds.
League Hub,
20 seconds.
Yeah, I just don't think he was able to take part. Anyway, 15 seconds until the sprint race gets underway. 20 minutes of what I hope is going to be action, led by 3 cars that are completely blank because they didn't share their livery files. Share the liveries. Otherwise, you're just going to be completely blank. Finish off my soda, and we are about to get underway. And it's green lights. Go, go, go. Racing is underway, and it looks like it's already all changed with the BFR duo. Umbe takes the lead from Gulio. The number 97 already trying to fight back, but now he's got Gercik for company in the 296 Ferrari. Meanwhile, I think we've already got a drive-through for Jabba. I think he has had a start line infringement of some description. Let's open up the helicopter cam. Let's see how things are shaping up already. Some pretty big gaps starting to form. Especially as this is a GT field, you wouldn't expect the gaps to be that massive at this stage. The closest gap at the minute is, of course, between the 2 BFR drivers. That's Gulio getting quite close to the bumper of his teammate. We get there we go. There's more live timings there. Gercik half a second behind Gulio. I can actually see Gulio's Aston Martin, the second car in line, taking a little bit of a look into turn. Which real one? When is it? 15, 14, 13. Sort of. 14, 13, 12, 11. I think turn 10 is what you call that sort of kink. However, he's lost a bit of time through the third sector here, and now slightly more under threat from Gercik. That Ferrari actually getting quite close through some of these corners, and you can definitely see Gulio, the Aston Martin, a bit more of a handful through some of these corners. Gercik seeming to find some nice little traction areas that Gulio is not able to find himself. The gap in front now, 1.1 seconds, give or take. There's Gercik right on the tail of Gulio, and Umbe pulling away. J.A. Wolf also within a second of Gerchik. Oh, there's contact, actually! As we move to the helicopter cam, Gerchik looked like he was trying to make a move through turn 9. Wasn't able to make it stick, and the two cars, the black cars, came together. That might have opened the door a little for Wolf, who is now very much closer. Gerchik going for another move into turn 13, not able to make it stick just yet. But all this fighting for P2 is allowing Umbay to pull away. There's gonna be more contact potentially. Gerchik trying to make the move into the final corner, and they have, at the moment, switched positions neck and neck. And yes, that is Gerchik into the lead, into P2 rather. Guleo relegated down to P3. It's not falling through the order, but it's not ideal for him. Pole sitter now P3 and under threat from the first car in this field that is actually colourful. The bright pink Mercedes AMG. And behind that is the other AMG GT of Alexei Shlovik, who's still about 1.4 seconds adrift of Wolf, but gradually catching himself. We had a pit stop, no, rather that was the drive-through for Jabber. Let's see Hernandez, the Nissan, holding on to P6 here from Fusion, but he's about to lose that. He's gone a bit wide through turn 9. Oh, and there's contact! Hernandez got spun off! That's a textbook pit maneuver, but unfortunately for Fusion, well, he's not a police officer, and Hernandez was not a criminal running away, so that's definitely going to get looked at. Unfortunately, I didn't get a better look at that. We only had the cam there from a great distance, and now Fusion under significant threat from Sherlock in the 963 inspired Porsche 911. Sandgreen's still in the pits. I don't know why he's not left the pits, as we have frame drops. Wonderful. Let's see if I can sort these out again. Come on, I need to see what's going on. Well, it's nothing to do with performance mode. Performance mode is definitely off. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Oh, there's a car in the background going a bit wide. That was Jordan Lake up into P8 after not qualifying. Christian Dawn. Potentially going to be under threat from John Bomberclat in the Bentley. The gap about a second at the minute. And Brian Wilson catching Andy Schultz in the golden BMW M4. And Hernandez, after being spun out by Fusion, is now down into 14th. Not the position he would really want to be in. Gerchik has dropped Gulio by about 1.7 seconds. And now the second BFR driver will have to start thinking about trying to hold off and defend J.A. Wolf in the pink BWT AMG, who has himself gradually dropped Shlovik in the silver SPS AMG GT. Sherlock had a much slower lap than Fusion that time around, about a second slower. And it looks like that Sherlock could be under threat from Jordan Lake now. The other 296 GT3. ARX Biscuit, the only ARX Biscuit driver on the field, as number 23 has not come out of the pits. Meanwhile, Jabber back into the pits. I reckon he's picked up some damage, or he's got just changing his tyres maybe, who knows? And Brian Wilson trying to make a move through turn 8. Bit too far behind on this occasion. bright yellow Ferrari. It's not often you see a yellow Ferrari, is it? Still just behind through turns 8 and 9. I think if you call that little kink just before the hairpin turn 8, I don't know what they call it. Maybe it's not classed as a corner at all. The Ferrari definitely looking a bit faster down the straights, although going a bit too far into the runoff area. And it looks like Gerchik is catching Umbay. Oh, this might be a very nice move from Brian Wilson. No, it's a bit opportunistic. And that contact has opened the door for Hernandez to take P12. Oh dear. Yeah, Brian Wilson is not driving particularly well. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead, as there's almost 9 minutes of the session elapsed. The leader under threat from the number 100. Marco Gerchik. The black Ferrari. We've got Wolf gradually catching Guglio. So the two Aston Martins might be about to lose 1 place each. Tyre changes, by the way, not mandatory. So you'd be sabotaging your race unless maybe there was a safety car. I could see if there was a safety car, but I don't know if the safety car is even enabled, or if there even is a safety car in this game. Getting mighty close for Gerchik now, though. The 296, not quite able to make the move just yet, but Gerchik driving very well here. Maybe doesn't quite have the pace in qualifying, but definitely seems to have the pace in the race. The race pace. I'm trying to make the move, having a look at the inside of turn 4, if you could call it that. Through the kinks, I has to lift off a little bit. Having a bit of a lag going on, desync. And he's going to make the dive bomb. Here he goes, Gerchik into the lead. What a move. It's not over yet, though. He hasn't secured it just yet. Umbay is going to try come back at him through the hairpin. And definitely Gerchik takes the wider line. That's going to give him a bit more speed, but it's going to open up the inside to Umbay, who's going to take the lead at the minute. It's Umbay about to retake the position. Side by side, or contact. A little bit of contact. Able to stay on the track side by side still, but Umbay is going to retake the lead. Less than 5 corners or so after he lost it. So definitely going to be a big battle for the lead here. As Guglio has dropped J.A. Wolf by a little bit, but Gerchik still on the tail of the Aston Martin. He's not going to take... Well, he's not going to just sit behind and stare at the arse of this Aston Martin the entire race. He wants that victory. But now Guglio potentially catching up, might be able to provide some assistance to his teammate, provide some pressure to Gerchik, and may force him to defend. You want to see the number 35? Which one is the number 35? There is no number 35. What are you talking about? If you're talking about Hernandez, we're getting more frame drops. Hernandez was having a decent race and then got spun out by Laryl Fusion. So he was on P6, and then got spun out. Almost a textbook pit maneuver. Gerchik not able to make the move just yet. Hernandez back into P10, so definitely doing reasonably well, having a good recovery here. Oh, look at Schmidt getting a bit tail happy on the exit of turn 9 as well. There you go. Still 2.9 seconds, 2.8 seconds. Gradually catching Bomberclat, might be able to take P9 before the end of the race, but it's going to be difficult as there's only 7 minutes remaining. And Schultz and Wilson still fighting, though. Schultz has gone wide. Perhaps a lockup? Not sure what happened there. I'd say damage if I didn't know better. Maybe it is damage. He's sort of just given the position to Wilson there. He's coming into the pits. He does have damage. Gerchik has, meanwhile, retaken the lead whilst we were looking at those. So apologies for that. But now he has 2 BFR Aston Martins right behind, and J.A. Wolf in the pink Mercedes also gradually catching. So this could still end up being a 4-way fight for the lead. Getting very close. 3 blank cars who neglected to give their paint schemes to me. I mean, maybe they did upload them, but no one tells me anything. Yeah, the one Nissan currently P10 as pit stops have been made for a few other cars. Andy Schultz in the pits, but Jabber in the pits. I think he's basically just retired. And Gerchik, half a second back to Umbe. And I wonder if the 2 BFR Aston Martins can retake that position, the lead. In the minute, though, gonna be a little bit tough. Apologies if I'm a bit sniffly. I forgot to take my hay fever, my antihistamines today, so getting a bit snotty from the pollen in the air. More frame drops. Ugh. Why? It's only ever this game. I don't understand. I think Gerchik is starting to drive a little bit better now that he's got a good amount of space back to the Aston Martins. And he's gradually opening that gap, but not by a huge amount. At the moment, it's only about 0.8 of a second. And Ombay has his own teammate for company, who's about 0.2 behind him, so this could end up being a bit of a teammate fight for the BFR boys. Guglio, pretty desperate to get back past his teammate after losing his pole position on the very first lap. J.A. Wolf gradually dropping back again. 1.1 seconds to Guglio. And going wide isn't going to help either. Meanwhile, there's a bit of fighting going down the field. Which one is that? That's Wilson in the number 1 Ferrari. Ahead of Schultz, but I'm pretty sure Schultz is now lapped. So even if Schultz gets past Wilson here, he's still technically going to be 14th and last on track. And yeah, Gerchik is definitely driving very much better. He's already pulled out an additional 0.5 of a second, half a second, since we last looked, which wasn't that long ago. So the 2 BFR boys gradually dropping back, and with 3 minutes of the race remaining, it's I think this is how things are going to pan out unless Wolf can make a move on Guglio. I wonder how things are going to end up. Meanwhile, Bomberclat now under threat from Hernandez, but Hernandez has a drive-through. So, unfortunately, he's going to lose out regardless, even if he does take P9, he'll probably do it for the clout, but he has to come into the pits and serve a drive-through. I don't know why. Didn't see what happened. But you don't get drive-throughs for nothing. As they come through the penultimate corner, is he going to dive into the pits just yet? Not yet, no. In fact, he's dropped back a little bit. He's now 8/10 behind Bomberclat. Losing a little bit of time. And now the gap in front between Gurchik and Humbei is 2 seconds. Yeah, it's pretty much a done deal here, isn't it? The Ferrari is going to take the victory unless he makes a mistake in these final 1 minute and 30 seconds. Give or take, because I reckon as soon as he crosses the finishing line, that's going to be when we're told the leader is on the final lap. What's going on? Oh, there we go. Wrong button. Yeah, Hernandez still trying to get past Bomberclat. It's just for clout now.
Alright, man, the leader is on the
He has to take the penalty, the drive-through, otherwise I think he might get disqualified if he doesn't take it. He's gonna make the move though. He's going for it. Oh no! Collision. Takes himself out of off the track. That was way too optimistic, and now he has to take that drive-through. He doesn't have a choice. There's 30 seconds of the session remaining. And now, yeah, he's taking it now. And so this is how things are more or less going to pan out. Unless Giulio can make his way past Humbei. Let's see how these things will pan out. The Ferrari is more or less home free. J.A. Wolf in the pink Mercedes is not a threat. The only threat to Humbei is his own teammate. And I don't think even he is going to be threatening P2 today unless he makes a dive bomb in these final few corners. And he's definitely going to try his best, but it's not going to be enough time. There are not enough corners left. So Gurchik comes to the penultimate corner. And now the final corner, as he is going to take victory in the sprint race. There we go. Nicely done. Humbei and Giulio come home in second and third place. Wolf has to settle for fourth. Shlovic takes a well-deserved P5. Very nicely done. Fusion, P6, but he's going to definitely have a cloud hanging over his head. I don't think he's going to keep that. He's probably going to get a penalty for that spin on Hernandez. Sherlock, P7. Jordan Lake, only P8. Could not take Sherlock. Bomberclat P9 ahead of Christian Dawn by 11 seconds. Lucas Smith P11 ahead of Brian Wilson and Hernandez after car number 13 in 13th place. Could have had a much better race, but well, he got spun out, and then he spun himself out. And then he also had the drive-through, so I don't think he's going to be getting many points here, and he might also have some damage, because that was rather deep into the final corner there. So there's how things have shaped up, and Sand Green somehow behind someone, Yusuf, who isn't even in the race. I don't know what's going on there. And Gurchik takes the fastest lap as well. Nicely done. Right, so I'm going to... Let's see. Liveries. Did it get updated? Amigos? Might have been updated, but yeah. The BFR boys have not submitted their liveries. Oop, that's in
Green light, give it all you can.
typical all caps. Right, so qualifying again for the 40-minute feature. Christian Dawn is the first man out on track. Come on, where's the drive button there? Right, so there we go, Christian Dawn leading the field around the track. And we'll should set the benchmark here. It's unlikely he's going to... Oh, he's letting... Sanguine's taking part now for some reason, but yeah, he's let Gulliot past. Which car am I focusing on here? There we go. So there's Gulliot. He's going to set the benchmark now. Around this Misano circuit, it's going to be about 1 minute 35, give or take a second or two. And we'll ride with the Aston Martin here as he plants his foot to the floor and begins his flying lap now. 5 minutes and 50 seconds of this 8-minute session remaining. Through turns 1 and 2. Sort of a reverse Tamburello almost. Turn 3 now. And down towards turn 4. And now this little kink, turn 5. Turn 6. Foot to the floor. Pedal to the metal. 2/10 up on previous best or whatever that is. Turn. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And down towards, I believe you call this kink, turn 8. And now turn 9. Very lightly on the brakes. Lost a little bit of time on this large isn't straight. The kink of turn 10, if you can call it a turn. Turn 11, and into the braking zone of turn 12. It's gone slightly wrong, and he's invalidated. So he's going to have to go again, but that's fine. Plenty of fuel on board. Which means benchmark is now going to go to Jordan Lake. Final corner approaching. Into the final corner now, turn 15. Foot to the floor, across the line now. There we go. And the benchmark is a 1:34.930. Next up, Luca Schmidt, across the line, has invalidated. Sherlock hasn't though, neither has Fusion, but they're still more than a second behind Jordan. Sand Green across the line, but he invalidated as well. Gerchik didn't though, he's improved by half a second over Jordan Lake. Bomberclat 3 seconds down on the benchmark. J.A. Wolf next, across the line. He also invalidated or was on his outlap. Umbay not on an outlap though. It hasn't invalidated this time around across the line, and it's a 1:35.2. Not a particularly great lap. Next, Brian Wilson in the yellow Ferrari. He's invalidated. Hernandez on an outlap by the looks of things. Gulio also, he's invalidated again, which is going to hurt because he's half a second up on his previous best. He has to get a lap time on the board here, one that's actually representative. And it's a shame that 1:34.9 would be a decent lap time. But still, half a second off. Jordan Lake improves to 1:34.5, within a tenth of Gerchik. Getting very close now. Sherlock moves up to P4, but is immediately bumped down to P5 by Shlovic. Christian Dorn does not improve. Gerchik, where is he going to... No, he's not improved. He was at 1.7 seconds down on his previous. Next up, J.A. Wolf. He's invalidated again. It's getting to crunch time now. The drivers have to set lap times. They have to set clean laps too. If they do not set a lap time, they're gonna just get thrown around willy-nilly. So they have to get times on the board. And Umbay has got a much better time on the board now. 1:34.9, half a second off Gerchik. Meanwhile, his teammate, well, Hernandez half a second down. Brian Wilson's invalidated. And look at Gulio, he's 7/10 up on his previous. 8/10 now. He is absolutely flying. He seems to be a qualifying master. And the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3 across the line. But he's 2/10 off of Gerchik's time. Still one hell of a lap there. Oh, wrong camera. Next across the line, Sherlock. He has not improved. What about Fusion? He has improved to P6. Shlovic, I don't know if he improved or not. Gerchik, 1:34.1 now, so he's improved again. He's a master of qualifying as well. Sandgreen improving, but then losing out again, so he's not had a great turns 1 and 2 there. Car number 27, Umbay, and he's matching his previous best. Almost exactly identical. Wow, that was 7/100ths behind on his previous best. Consistent, if anything. He's not out of the session just yet. I think he crossed the line just in time. Most drivers in the pits now. Hernandez did not get a time on the board. Gulio now trying to improve. 1:34.6 is his current best time. He might improve by only a tenth of a second. It's not even that. Only P3 for the sprint pole sitter. Sherlock has invalidated. Fusion has not. He's about 4/10 of a second. 5/10 of a second up on his previous best now. Through the final corner, he's finding a huge amount of pace. Through the final 2 corners, across the line for Fusion, and he's improved, but it's only P7. Oh, and Lucas Smith. So, it looks like 4 drivers have not set lap times, have been unable to set lap times. Youssef, who wasn't even here, is somehow ahead of all of them. Schultz, Hernandez, Jabber, and Wilson. And Gerchik will take feature race pole. good numbers, apparently, for the stream. I can't tell, it's not showing me how many people are watching. Yeah, I want to see. Six people. So that's nice. Bearded Blob, who are you? Just if you're part of the Hutch League, are you part of the racers or not? Oh, you're Vic. Hello, Vic. You're a moderator by the looks of things, with that sword next to your name. Just don't start slashing me, thank you very much. Weren't you taking part in this league before? I could swear you were one of the pink Mercedes. Well, regardless, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and racing will get underway momentarily. And here we go. Cars are now rolling for the rolling start. And Gerchik will be leading the way ahead of Jordan Lake. As we're getting more frame drops. Wonderful. Red lights and green, green, green. Racing is underway and Gerchik successfully defends his pole position. Jordan Lake did try to dive in behind him. Or he did dive in behind him, but tried to make the move through turn 1. Did not make it stick. There's a bit of a kerfuffle behind. J.A. Wolf under threat from Slovak. 3 AMG GTs in line astern. And Slovak up from P11 at one point, I think it was. That's incredible. Oh, Fusion almost knocking into Sherlock there. So there's going to be bit of racing going on. Oh, Sherlock making the dive bomb into turn 7. I know we've got frame drops again, which is irritating. Oh, Christian Dawn going around in the background. Bit of contact going on. Sandgreen making his way past Lucas Smith in the golf-coloured Ferrari 296. The two 296s swapping positions. Sandgreen got a lot of work to do, but there's drive-thrus already for Sandgreen and Hernandez. Poor old Hernandez can't seem to catch a break here. Umbey's lost out. He's down into P8. And now behind Fusion. You were in the league, but you it's too stressful, you know. I get it. I get it, man. So, hopefully this race already looking a lot more entertaining than the sprint race. Lake, I thought he'd been overtaken. He has not. Still right behind his fellow Ferrari, though he's not a fellow in this case. They may be driving the same type of car, but they are not driving for the same team. Gulio also pretty close, as we've got the cars with the drive-thrus making those taking those penalties right now, and Gulio I thought was going to start sliding around there for a moment. Jordan Lake taking a little move. He's going for the dive bomb. He's not able to make it stick through turn 7. Maybe a bit too optimistic, but not so pessimistic. Optimistic, but not without fault, without reason, because that could have stuck there, but it didn't. It was a decent move as Slovak back into P5, where he was in the sprint. Jordan Lake. It's ARX Biscuit Ferrari, and that's Gerchik going wide. I don't know how penalties get dished out here. If this was F1, that would be a corner track limits warning. I don't know if such things exist in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I think maybe if you do it enough times, you might get some kind of penalty, but those don't tend to get dished out by the game, as far as I can tell. You want to watch the Nissan? He's in 14th. There's nothing to watch. Look at him. He's going through turn 12, 13 now. Car number 13. He's in no man's land. Why should we watch him when there's nothing going on with him? He's just going through the motions at the minute. I know he seems to be one of your friends, but at the minute, there's no point. Currently, he's not racing. He's just driving in circles. Sorry, but sometimes you just need the cold hard truth. Umbe got past Level Fusion at some point. He's into P7 now, and he's... Oh, Fusion though! Oh no, and Umbe tags the back of Sherlock, and Fusion, who made a bit of a dive bomb, is about to take... Yeah, he has taken P7 back from the BFR driver. But will Mr. BFR retake the position? They're almost side by side. Fusion's gonna have the inside for some of these corners, but Umbe has the racing line. It's getting very close to side by side, and Fusion maybe getting a little bit too argy-bargy. Has the racing line for the penultimate corner and makes it stick. He holds on to P7, but that's allowed Sherlock to open the gap by about 1.5 seconds. Well, to about 1.5 seconds. 1.1 at the minute, though. So, Sherlock, not particularly faster on this game. I think that's because he is using controller. Umbe, meanwhile, is not going to stay put behind this Mercedes. He's going to do his level best to make his way back past. He did it before, he can do it again. But he's going the pink Mercedes going to make it as difficult as he can. And you can see he held on to the inside there like a champ. And Umbe just not able to make the move just yet. He's going to have to wait a little bit. Meanwhile, it's 4 cars line astern through turn 10, that was. Gerchik, Lake, Gulio, and Wolf. Wolf slightly further behind than the leading 3, but this is one hell of a battle for the lead. Gerchik, Lake, Gulio, and Wolf just slightly further behind. We will catch the lap times. Oh no! Gulio tags the rear end of Jordan Lake. That's definitely going to get looked at. And Gulio has to keep going. He cannot sit back and wait to let Lake back past, because he'll then lose another position to Wolf, but that's definitely going to get looked at, I reckon. So Gulio could have a penalty coming his way. That's really not what you want to see. So now Wolf into the podium positions here, but Jordan Lake not going to take that line down. He's going to start fighting his way back. And he's only P4, so it's not like he got spun out and had to do a 3-point turn. He's not that far behind in the grand scheme of things, so he's going a bit wide there. The other BFR driver, meanwhile, Umbe, still behind. The pink Mercedes of Level Fusion gaining a little bit, lap by lap. We're getting more frame drops. Please stop doing that, stream. I don't want you to do that. And Umbe is just finding it pretty difficult to get past the Mercedes here. Oh, he's going a bit deep on the brakes. Thought he was going to make contact with Fusion there. Give Fusion a little bit of his own medicine. Fortunately, Fusion is spared the marvellous medicine of Gaetan. It's not quite George's Marvellous Medicine, is it? But it'll do. And Umbay definitely gradually closing that gap. I just missed the lap times. I think Umbay slightly faster than Fusion here, but not fast enough. And this is turning into a little battle for P6 now, as Sherlock, his lack of pace showing, could be about to lose 2 positions to Fusion and Umbay, but he's gonna, without a doubt, hold on to P6 as long as he can. And Bomberclad's P9 again, also catching, though he's had a bit of a slide there if you just caught it. So that's going to hurt his pace a little bit. He's 1.5 seconds behind. Still a gap. Meanwhile, cars 20 and 21 and 69, Schultz and Dawn having a little battle for P12 here, and Christian Dawn, I think, has just been overtaken, maybe. I don't know which way it's been going. But the Porsche, the Garage Porsche, the only one here today, is Krebs, not taking part tonight. Right behind the M4. And not quite so clean through turns 11 and 12 for Christian Dawn. Slightly later on the brakes for Schultz. But these two definitely locked in a little battle of their own. For I don't think they're points paying positions, but if they are, they don't give a huge amount of points. Much better on the traction zone through the exit of the final corner for Christian Dawn. Is he going to make the move into turn 1? No, can't quite do it. Has to wait for a little bit longer. There's your friend, Top 4 LE. We'll watch him for 2 seconds. There we go. Gurchik, 6/10 ahead of Gulio. They've dropped Wolf a little bit as well. He's 1.6 seconds behind. 1.5 seconds behind him is Jordan Lake, who I think may have a little bit of damage, potentially, but he's gradually losing touch to Wolf. I wonder if maybe he's just been spooked. He's just been a bit too shaken and he's just not able to find his rhythm again. Don't blame him. Oh, number 2 car has spun. That's Fusion. I didn't catch what happened. I have no idea if that was contact. Maybe it was. But Umbay has managed to dispatch Fusion and Sherlock, so I wonder if that was a consequence of Umbay making a move there. Didn't catch it, unfortunately. So for all we know, Fusion just spun on his own. But Umbay up into 6th place now, and already 1.4 seconds ahead of Sherlock. And catching Slovik now. So Slovik, who has been mostly on himself for all of the sprint race, and for most of this race so far, the feature, will soon have a very fast Aston Martin on his tail, and will have to start defending. 2.3 seconds the gap already. Umbay absolutely pushing it. The gap at the front, half a second, give or take a few hundredths. Gulio's last lap, 1:34.902. That was a qualifying lap almost. Gurchik, 1:34.967. So Gulio was slightly faster on the previous lap, but we shall see how they've been on this lap, and if they've just been completely inseparable. As we saw in Kyalami, the two BFR drivers were very close to each other. 1:35.0, 1:35.197. So Gurchik about 2/10 quicker, but Wolf into the 1:34.8s. So Wolf has had a very good lap there. He just has to keep that up. And he can catch his best in fact that was his best lap, 1:34.895. So that's about 3 tenths... no, 2 tenths quicker. Hang on. No, it is more like about 3 tenths quicker than Guglio's last lap. And 2 tenths quicker than Gerchik's. That gap, though, is now 8 tenths of a second between Gerchik and Guglio. And Wolf, 1.2 seconds behind Guglio himself. Jordan Lake lurking in the background. His last lap time was significantly slower. 1:35.5. So his rhythm definitely disrupted by the spin earlier. We're approaching the finishing line again, and we'll see how these lap times are shaping up. Because Gerchik seems to have lost a bit of time already. 5 tenths of a second. 1:34.9, 1:34.8, 1:34.9. 1:35.597 for Lake. So Jordan Lake definitely falling off the leaders. Slovak has Umbay for company now. And Slovak 2 seconds slower than Umbay. So it's no contest here. Umbay is going to make the move at some point. It's just a question of when. But yeah, the leaders very closely matched. Otherwise, so Umbay has that silver SPS Mercedes AMG in front. But it's going to be a bit of a mobile chicane here. He's so much better on the brakes. Can he do it better through the traction zone? Not quite, but that gap, minuscule. Can he make the move around the outside? Slovak defending very well here. Very nice defending, as Fusion had a drive-through penalty. That's going to hurt. And kick him out of the points, more or less, if this was F1 at least. And yes, now that Humbay is right behind Slovak, he is going to be it's going to be very difficult to get past. Slovak is defending very well. And despite his speed, Umbay just finding it so difficult to get past that Mercedes. Lap times, and you can see Umbay has lost a lot of time. 1:34 was his lap before. Now he's doing 1:36s because he just can't find his way past Slovak at the minute. I do think it's going to happen, but it's just very, very close at the minute. Yeah, it's a sight you don't want to see. A great big black Aston Martin. I'm assuming it isn't black on either of these drivers' screens. But you don't want to see that in your rearview mirror. An Aston Martin that's doing everything it can to find a way past. And Slovak still defending rather well here. He's keeping the faster driver behind simply by positioning himself correctly. Very nice defending from Slovak. We might see some changes up front as Gerchik and Guglio very close together themselves. That gap in front only about 3 tenths of a second, and yeah, Guglio had a faster lap that time around. Wolf much slower, 1:35.6. Umbay has had a much better exit from the final corner here. Umbay might be about to take P5 from Slovak, and yes, it was only a matter of time. Umbay got it so much better in that final corner there. Meanwhile, the number 101, who was that? Luca Schmidt was in a decent position by the looks of things, and he's had a spin. Now under threat from Hernandez, who's been running in last for a little bit. and has not been having great lap times himself, might get a bit of fighting as he's currently 14th and last. I think we've had a retirement, and I think that was Jabber who has retired from this race. I don't see his car running around the track anywhere. Giulio, meanwhile, closing that gap 1/10 of a second. The neck and neck within a tenth for Giulio. It's getting mighty close between these two. You can tell that the Frenchman Fabien Giulio is catching, absolutely pushing that Aston Martin to its absolute limits. And Gerchik might have got it a bit wrong there. He's had to go wide. What are the lap times? 2/10 quicker on the previous lap. Giulio trying to go around the outside into turn 1. Has to lift off a little bit, back off, as Gerchik had the inside. I know that's probably not how you pronounce that word, but it probably has some weird consonant sound, I don't know. I'm just going to keep calling him Gerchik, because I'm just assuming. More frame drops, apologies. Not much I can do about that. I don't know why it's doing that. We've got a pit lane for car number 2. That's Fusion. That's his drive-through that he's serving. Number 21 and 69. That's Dawn and Schultz still fighting. Luca Schmidt has a drive-through now. He's having a bit of a battle with Hernandez, the one and only Nissan GTR. The gap in front, about half a second. J.A. Wolf, still on the tail end. He will be there if one of these two drivers in front make a mistake, or if both of them make a mistake. Meanwhile, Jordan Lake has not been having a great race since he got spun out. He was in a good position before. Now he's probably going to have to settle for P4, but he's got Humbay behind, who's... Well, he's dispatched Sherlock, he dispatched Slovik. He's now 3/10 ahead of Slovik, and now only... Well, he's within 5 seconds of Lake. So the second BFR Aston gradually catching, and you can see just 2 seconds quicker than Lake on that last lap. Humbay absolutely flying. But we are halfway through this race. In fact, we have 18 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. Still plenty of time for Humbay to catch Jordan Lake and, well, dispatch him and take P4. It's just a question of whether or not he can dispatch J.A. Wolf and take the podium. Thought for a second that Gerchik had the drive-through there. That's just Luca Schmidt with his drive-through. I think he's had another spin. He's coming into the pit lane now to serve that drive-through. Meanwhile, the gap in front was up to a second between Gerchik and Giulio. It's come down to 0.7 of a second now. Meanwhile, Bomberclat closing on Sherlock, and with Fusion's spin earlier, that has promoted Bomberclat into P8. Brian Wilson is P9 rather comfortably. He's got space, a huge amount of space behind him. 20 seconds to Christian Dawn, who has dispatched Andy Schultz, and gradually pulling away, unless, no, Dawn's gone a bit wide. And that's actually allowing Hernandez and Fusion to catch back up. So Dawn's last lap was a 1:38.0. Schultz was a 1:38.2. 1:38.1 for Hernandez. 1:53.65 for Fusion, who I think served his drive-through. So currently another four-way battle, this time for P10, which, if this was F1, would be the final points paying position.
We'll see what the lap times are for these four drivers.
Christian Dorn across the line first. 138.3. Schultz 139.5. Hernandez 137.1. Fusion 136.3. So the cars at the tail end of the field actually faster than the ones just ahead of this train, at least. So Hernandez faster than Schultz and Dorn, but Fusion faster than all three of them. You can see that Fusion just trying to make his way past that Nissan. I almost called it a Mimson or something, I don't know. And Lucas Schmidt is the first driver to be lapped in this race, as there are now 16 minutes of the feature race remaining. Fusion taking a little look at the inside of the Nissan, but having to hold off for now. The gap between Jordan Lake and Gaetan Umbe is 2.5 seconds.
134.7 was Umbe's previous lap. 136.1 was Lake's. So the Ferrari definitely slower. It's only a matter of time before Umbe catches up and potentially makes the move. And Lake. Yeah, that's flashing his lights, that's code for get out of the way, I'm lapping you. Lucas Schmidt getting in the way a little bit. Bomberclat, meanwhile, has closed the gap to Sherlock, and that Bentley might be able to make his way past the Porsche and take P7, which would be a decent finish for our resident Jamaican. 136.757 was his previous lap. 137.4 was Sherlock's. So Sherlock definitely not performing too well around here. Meanwhile, the 27 is Umbe trying to make his way past Lucas Schmidt. The Golf Ferrari getting in the way again, but looks like he has been dispatched. Christian Dorn still at the head of this field, but Fusion has managed to dispatch Hernandez and Schultz, and now chasing after Christian Dorn. So Dorn's previous lap, 138.8, 137 for Fusion, 138.2 for Schultz, 137.1 for Hernandez, but still at the tail end of the field, trying to make his way past the golden BMW. Gerchik still under threat. 135.6 previous lap for Gerchik. 135.1 for Gouliot. So the Aston Martin definitely having better lap times on average than the Ferrari, who's leading. But this still could end up being a second race victory in a row for Gerchik. Gorchik? I don't know. The gap between Jordan Lake and Umbe is less than a second now. The Aston Martin has caught the Ferrari at a rate of knots, and it's only a matter of time before those two cars switch places. So Lake is going to have a big defending job on his hands. He's going to do his best, and might put up a better fight than Slovik did. Lake, from experience, is a pretty decent driver. Don't think he's won a race here yet, but definitely has some pace to him. Not as much as these BFR guys, though, who've just popped out of nowhere and are stealing all our all the Huts points. Still mighty close at the front. Gerchik and Gouliot swapping lap times. And this time, Gouliot was the slower of the two drivers. 135.4 versus 135.2.
Umbay now finally lapping outside of the 134s, but still lapping faster than Jordan Lake, and that's probably the lack of lap time on this previous lap is probably because he is right behind the Ferrari now. Look how much he caught through that corner there.
Turn 13. It's only a matter of time, but Jordan gonna do his very level best to make this as hard for the Aston Martin as possible. Oh, maybe not hard enough. It opened the door through the inside, and Umbay, it's like, thank you very much, and stepped right through. Maybe Jordan just couldn't defend, but that was the most pathetic attempt at defense that I have ever seen. Now, Umbay ahead of the Ferrari into P4 can now chase after J.A. Wolf for a potential podium, but he's got 10 minutes and 33 seconds to do it in, and that might be a bit of a tall order. Previous lap was a 1:35.6, but that was with Jordan in front of him. 1:35.4 was Wolf's previous lap, so we will watch the fastest lap times as Gouliot catching Gerchik by a few tenths now. 1:35.4 previous lap, 1:35.3 for Gerchik, so Gouliot having much better lap time here. Frenchman versus the Slovak. Come on, let's see how these things level out. Less than 10 minutes to go now. Gerchik across the line. His lap time was a tenth slower than Gouliot. Wolf 1:35.7. No match for the drivers in front. Umbay 1:36.0. So Umbay slower on that lap than Wolf. He doesn't have that much time to catch up, and I think he's already shaved 0.3 of a second off that gap already. But still a lot of time to make up. Hernandez, meanwhile, did dispatch Andy Schultz, and we've had another retirement. No, it's just Lucas Schmidt who's been lapped, who's into the pits and might be about to retire himself. Fusion, meanwhile, getting rather racy with Christian Dorn and makes his way past the Porsche into P10. Nicely done. And now can start chasing after Brian Wilson, but it's going to be a very long chase, and I don't think he can realistically do anything about it. 1:37.1 previous lap time, Wilson 1:38.4, so if they keep up that pace, there still won't be enough time for Fusion to get past the yellow Ferrari here. Bomberclat, meanwhile, just not able to make the inroads on Sherlock. Slovak in no man's land again. Lake in no man's land again himself as Umbay is pulling away. Wolf 1:35.8. Umbay is a 1:35.2, so Umbay lapping quicker, but not quickly enough. He needs to be shaving seconds off of Wolf's time, not tenths. And I reckon he just doesn't have enough time to get onto the podium here, but it's still been a really good recovery. He dropped down a few places, was into 8th at just 1 or 2 laps in, and now up into 4th. Been a decent race for Umbay here. Meanwhile, I think Gouliot has had a poor lap here. Whilst their previous laps were very similar, 1:34.9 to 1:35.2, Gouliot has dropped back to 9/10 behind the Ferrari here. And with 7 minutes of the race remaining, +1, might end up being that we're going to see the black Ferrari taking the victory again.
Luca.
Lost control of the car, binned it into a wall, had to repair the damage. He's lapped twice now. To his credit, he's still going. He hasn't retired from the race. He could do that if he wanted, but he's still going. Still trying to race. We'll get the laps in. Practice makes perfect, at least.
The gap between Umbay and Wolf has fallen down to a second.
But that means Humbay has, with 6 minutes of the race remaining, that's
Essentially got to shave a second a lap off of Wolf's lead over him. He's already shaved off 4/10.
so previous lap times. We'll look at this. 136.2, 135.5. So Humbay definitely
Lapping much quicker than the pink Mercedes.
but I still don't think it's quickly enough.
The gap in front, meanwhile, has risen to 1.1 seconds.
And Gerchik had a much better lap, 135.3 to 135.7.
I want to see who has the fastest lap here. Gulio has the fastest lap, the 134.695.
Very nice lap. Has he had a better lap here, though?
Yes, but only by about 1/10 of a second.
The gap has fallen a little bit, but not by
A huge amount. 135.7, 135.1, so Umbay absolutely just pushing it to the limit still. Half a second quicker than Wolf. The gap almost to the 5-second mark, but still not enough.
At this rate, he will catch Jay Wolf by the end of the race, but it won't be enough.
You can see just how long it takes these cars to make their way past the other drivers. And if Wolf has any lick of sense, well, he can see that Umbay is catching. He's going to defend like there's no tomorrow, because essentially there is no tomorrow.
There's 4 minutes of the race remaining, plus 1 lap if necessary.
The gap is less than 5 seconds, but it's still not enough. Schultz has been passed by the leaders, and Gerchik gradually opening the gap. 1.2 seconds now to Gulio. What's the lap times like? 135.3 versus 135.8. Yep. Gerchik, much better lap times. Wolf 136.2. Umbay 135.0.
So he's taken an entire second out of Wolf's lead there.
But with 3 minutes of the race remaining,
still not enough time.
And maybe Wolf, trying to drive better, is taking too much out of his tyres. He just has to hold on for 2 minutes and 50 seconds more. And if he's lucky, the final lap will come sooner rather than later. Gerchik safe by 1.4 seconds. It's looking more and more likely that the Ferrari is going to take the lead, but he's got it a bit wrong through turn 9, and this might allow Gulio to catch up a bit more. You can see the Ferrari just going a bit wobbly through the hairpin. Aston Martin taking the opportunity to capitalize off that mistake, a rare mistake from Gerchik. The lead down only 7/10 of a second. And now Gerchik's actually got to work for it again.
Of course, the BFR driver gonna have to
do a lot of work himself. This is going to be the penultimate lap, and I'm afraid I think it's going to be very close.
1:35. There's going to be about 15 seconds on the clock before the final lap begins. Half a second now. That mistake has cost Gerchik dearly, but is it dearly enough? Wolf getting past Schultz, but the gap is 2.8 seconds. 2 laps left for Wolf to hold on. 1:35.3 previous lap for Umbe, 1:36.3, an entire second slower for Wolf. Is it going to be enough? He can see that Aston Martin in his rear view mirrors now. It's getting a bit too dicey here. But there's one more lap, and he can hold on for one more lap. Unless he makes a mistake, he should be safe here. And of course, Umbe has to dispatch Andy Schultz, who has been lapped himself. And Schultz might get in the way and provide a bit of a rolling roadblock, who, unlike Allord, was not born to be one. Though Schultz actually gets out of the way. Final lap, as I said, around 15 seconds of the race remained. And it's getting rather dicey for Marco Gerchik, with half a second between him and Gulliot. It's also getting a bit dicey for J.A. Wolf, who has Umbe about 2 seconds behind him. But it's not dicey enough, I think, as Umbe's tyres probably starting to give up the ghost. Now he's gradually been getting slower and slower each lap. So the main fight between the leaders, Gerchik and Gulliot. I think in the end, this is going to go Marco Gerchik's way. He just has to... Oh, Lucas Smith has been disqualified. He hasn't served his drive-through. But Gerchik holding on. And this will be his second victory tonight. He just has to hold on for 2 more corners. The gap behind, the closest it's been for a while. Gulliot pushing harder and harder, but it's not going to be enough, and he's actually got it at the final corner. All wrong. Gerchik takes victory ahead of Fabien Gulliot. J.A. Wolf manages to hold on to P3 here, ahead of the charging Umbe. Jordan Lake has had a very sad race, was in the podium positions, has to take P5. Shlovic, P6. Consistent, completely in no man's land. Sherlock was able to hold off Bomberclat for P7, but Bomberclat into P8, not bad for our resident Jamaican. Brian Wilson in P8 himself. Fusion P9 and Christian Dawn into P10. Oh, we've got some weird things going on. There we go. There's Wilson going around the final corner. Fusion and Dawn. There we go indeed. As Christian Dawn comes around the final corner, crosses the finishing line, and takes P10 on the road. There we go. Fastest lap goes to Fabien Gulliot, who just didn't have the answer to Marco Gerchik, who takes 2 victories tonight. The old black Ferrari takes victory, and maximum, almost maximum points maybe, for the weekend. So, there we go. That is
the race tonight.
Where's the... There we go.
And there we go.
Don't really have anything else to say, really. So, yeah.
That's it. Gojek takes victory. We'll see you next week for... where's the calendar again? The Suzuka Circuit. It's going to be a night race. 30th of June, but
Actually, we might not see me next week, because, of course, I've got my late shift, don't I? So... these things... It happens.
So, maybe we'll see you next week, maybe not. Regardless, take care and
Good night.
meow!